Fire Emblem Awakening is known as the game that saved the franchise. Unless Awakening sold well, the Fire Emblem series would be cancelled, just like everything in 2020. But what did Awakening do that was different from the others? What got more people to play it? They added the ability to ship anime characters. Fire Emblem Awakening was my introduction to the Fire Emblem franchise, and I like it a lot. My first playthrough was really something else. Resetting the game every time I lost a unit, spending hours playing Matchmaker, and of course, dropping the game for about 6 months before restarting it. I did that last one a lot. Seriously, I got this game back in 2015 and I didn't beat it until 2019, and yet it's my second most played 3DS game. But I've changed since then. I learned how to move on from my failures, play through the game without dropping it, and I still spend way too long playing Matchmaker. Seriously, Lonku is such a Chad. Who do I pair him with? Awakening is split up into a bunch of different chapters, which each take place on a different map. Each map has one of two clear conditions: rout all enemies or defeat the commander, also known as
kill every last one of them,
or
kill one of them.
You have to make sure that you use each of your units strategically so that you can maximize efficiency in each turn. Each unit has different stats, meaning they all excel in certain situations. Virion can dish out some major damage, but he can't attack up close. Maribel is a mobile healer, but has no way to defend herself. Kellum can tank any non-magic attack, but can't move very far. And Gaius is worthless. There are a ton of things to keep in mind while in combat. What enemy units are in range? What weapon are they using? Can I tank their counterattack? Do they have a bullcrap ability? Are my healers safe? Is Sumiya paired with someone so she doesn't get one-rounded? And so on. This makes it so that when you pull off a victory, it feels earned. You didn't just throw a single unit onto the field and win. Yet, you came up with a strategy and executed it perfectly. But why do that? What's keeping you from just bum-rushing all of the enemies with your entire army at once? Well, for those of you who know about this game, you may have noticed the lack of clips featuring the character Donald, the most overpowered unit in the game. And that's because...
Sorry, Mom.
Donald got murdered on my playthrough. In order to prevent you from playing carelessly, there's a permadeath feature. This makes it so that any mistake or miscalculation you make has a dire consequence. Sure, you can just reset the game if you lose a unit, but if you do that, then you suck. Look, people can play the game however they want to play it. I found permadeath to make the game more interesting, so I never reset. But I mean, it's not that hard to keep your units alive anyways. Just take your time, plan accordingly, and everyone should stay alive. To say that the RNG in this game is brutal is to be an understatement. You can do everything perfectly, but someone at Nintendo can just hit a screw you button and take one of your units. There is no risk-free strategy in this game. Even the small 30% hit chance can be the difference between life and death. But I really don't mind this. War is unpredictable, and you have to adapt to whatever situation you are presented with, rather than just rewinding time so that everything goes according to plan. Not to mention this bullcrap RNG can also save you sometimes, so it's pretty forgivable. And even though everything is risky, I really wouldn't call it unfair because you know if there's a chance of getting crit or not. In fact, there isn't really anything about this game that I would call unfair. Oh. Oh no.
They saw me.
Reinforcements are not new to this series, but in this version, they come at the start of the enemy turn rather than at the end. This means that they can come out of nowhere and just obliterate your units at any time. I really wish it didn't work this way because you can't adapt around it. But even still, I don't hate this mechanic. It's not ideal, but like I said earlier, war is unpredictable. Sometimes the game tells you that you just don't have a healer anymore, and it's up to you to work around that issue. Every battle is like a game of chess, where you constantly have to predict and adapt to the opponent's moves. And if this is a game of chess, then Lonku is the queen. But outside of the battles, Lucina is my queen if you catch my drift. She died, so I married Olivia. Once the battle is won, it's back to camp to witness some romance blossom. Sure, we can listen to some friendships grow, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that you can ship your units and make them get married. But how do you get your units to get hitched? Well, it's actually pretty well explained in Metal Gear Solid.
Do you think love can bloom, even on a battlefield?
Yeah, I do. I think at any time, any place, people can fall in love with each other. But if you love someone, you have to be able to protect them.
I think so too.
The support conversations in this game, romantic or not, are all pretty good, and they all really showcase the characters' personalities, like Sully wanting to be the strongest, Muriel doing literally anything for research, and Long Ku being a thought destroyer.
Women.
Cordelia, by the way. I paired Long Ku with Cordelia. What's crazy is this is actually not a useless feature. It ties into the gameplay. Units that have a higher support rank have a better chance of blocking attacks or providing extra attacks. And if two units are married, then they have a kid together that comes from the featured age or army. And yes, it is just as stupid as it sounds. These child units are really busted because they have abilities and stat changes based on their parents. However, I barely use them. I usually checked out their stage, saw the level of the enemies, and said nope. And even the few child units that I did recruit, I never used. I did use my daughter Morgan though, until she died, but I had no desire to use the other child units because they were under-leveled and would die in only a few hits. Besides, why would I use a brand new unit when I can throw Robin into the middle of the field and win for free? Look, everything I said about the fun and strategic gameplay is true for the first 3/4 of the game. But once I got to chapter 22, the strat for the rest of the game was to pair Chrom to Robin, throw him into the middle of the battlefield, and watch every single enemy hit the floor dead within seconds. If Awakening is a game of chess, Long Ku is the queen, and Robin is a nuke hitting the chessboard. Now, I understand there's a way to avoid this. There are other players that have made it to the end of the game using a full team and strategy, and that would be the most fun way to do it. But that didn't change the fact that the end of the game was a joke on my playthrough. This is not an issue with the end of the game, it's an issue with the whole game. Every time I got put into a sticky situation, I would throw Robin out there and hope that he would come back alive. And because Robin's death would result in a game over instead of a unit lost, this strategy involved the least amount of risk. And this led to Robin getting a ton of EXP. And considering how good Robin's growths were, this type of playstyle was rewarded. I don't think it's too big of a deal because this was mainly an issue with how I played the game, but I do think this playstyle should be punished instead of rewarded. Because of this, the end of the game was kinda boring and I was kinda just playing to get it over with. But hey, at least I had a good story to make up for it, right? Right? The story blows. It is chock full of plot holes, filler, and anticlimactic conclusions. Out of all the Fire Emblem games I've played, Revelations is the only one with a story worse than this. It is so bad! The story is split into 3 main arcs, and the first arc is actually really good. It's about the war between Ylisse and Plegia. The pacing is very well thought out, there are mysteries created for the other arcs to unravel, the villain is over-the-top evil, there's a mix of happy and sad moments, and the conclusion is extremely fulfilling and heartwarming. The second arc is about trying to stop someone who wants world domination, and this arc is 9 chapters long of nothing but pure filler. You go to Valm, kill a dude, and nothing happens in this arc that impacts the rest of the story. I'm gonna have to get into some spoilers here to explain something, so if you want to avoid any of those, then here's the timestamp, but don't expect this story to blow your mind. Spoilers start in 3, 2, 1. You could argue that Bastilio's death was important for showing that destiny can't be changed, but that was already shown through Imran's death. And the gemstones? Those could have easily been explained somewhere else. This arc is completely worthless. But being worthless is so much better than being anticlimactic and stupid. The final arc is against Valadar, and it is so dumb. It is revealed that Robin is the fell dragon Grima, the beast that destroyed Lucina's future, and Valadar wants to awaken Grima from within Robin. At the start of the game, there is a scene where Robin kills Chrom, and the entire game has been built back up to this moment, with Lucina trying everything in her power to prevent it. But destiny can't be changed, and Chrom is killed by Robin's hand yet again. But this time not really. You see, Robin stabbed Chrom, but not as hard. So Chrom fell to the floor and pretended to die, That way, the presumed dead Bastilio could rush onto the screen and say, "I lived because we can change destiny," and then Chrom gets back up and the fight continues. Do I even need to explain why this is stupid? This feels like it was thrown in at the last minute to add shock value. None of this adds up. And it doesn't stop there. Oh no, 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 no. After you stop Valadar from resurrecting Grima, Grima from Lucina's future comes into this timeline to, quote, make sure he continues to exist. This is also stupid. Grima already can't exist in this timeline anymore due to Valadar's death, but he just continues to exist anyways? And even if you consider this to be a Cell Saga situation where it's a completely different branch in the timeline, that means Grima had no reason to even come back in this timeline in the first place, other than the fact that the devs wanted to end their Fire Emblem game with a dragon final boss. The story in this game is hot garbage, but at the very least, it has a pretty good ending. You get to choose between letting Chrom put Grima back to sleep, or killing Grima yourself, resulting in your death as well. And considering I let my own daughter die for the sake of victory, I might as well take one for the team too. Seeing everyone say goodbye to Robin one last time was a very touching way to end the game. Just kidding, he lives. He comes back after the credits. I take it back, this ending sucks! Fire Emblem Awakening is definitely not a perfect video game. There are a ton of flaws with it, both gameplay and story-wise. But at the end of the day, it's still an amazing game. Without this Fire Emblem game, the franchise would be dead, and I would have never experienced other amazing games like Path of Radiance or the Fates games. I also would not have experienced Echoes, so maybe it would have been better if the series died. Despite all my complaints, if you're a fan of the tactics games, or you just want to ship some anime characters, then I would recommend giving this game a shot. It's well worth your time. Now, let me pay my respects to those who lost their lives on the field of battle. Rest easy, fellas. You did good. Except for you, Gaius. You kinda had it coming.